There's an infinite ocean of possibilities surrounding you at this exact moment. This isn't metaphor, it's quantum physics. Every version of you that could exist already exists simultaneously in this field of pure potential. The abundant version, the healthy version, the emotionally fulfilled version, all vibrating at different frequencies, waiting for you to tune into the right station. But perhaps you've spent your entire life looking only at the small puddle of water at your feet, believing that this limitation was all that existed for you. Conditioned to think that manifestation is difficult, time-consuming, and requires complex techniques that few master. Perhaps you feel exhausted from trying so many different approaches. From affirmations repeated until exhaustion, from intense visualizations that seem to lead nowhere, from the constant sensation of almost getting there, but something invisible always sabotages your efforts at the last moment. This frustration of seeing others manifesting with apparent ease while you struggle can create silent pain, as if there's a secret code everyone knows except you. The sensation of spiritual inadequacy can be devastating, as if you are fundamentally different, unable to access what should be your natural right to create the reality your heart recognizes as possible. Joe Dispenza revolutionized our understanding of manifestation when he discovered that the quantum field is the only governing agency of the particle. Energy always precedes matter. Neville Goddard, decades earlier, had already understood that imagination is the only redemptive power in man, capable of collapsing possibilities into tangible experiences. The simple truth that changes everything is this: you don't create anything in the quantum field. All versions of you already exist simultaneously in this infinite ocean of possibilities. You simply choose which reality to collapse through your vibrational frequency. When you recognize that you're already a perfect manifester, you are just operating unconsciously. The struggle ceases and manifestation becomes as natural as breathing. In the quantum field, all possibilities exist simultaneously in a state physicists call superposition. This means the version of you that is abundant, healthy, and completely fulfilled isn't a distant future possibility. It exists now, in this moment, vibrating at a different frequency from the one you're tuned into. It's like having access to all the television channels in the universe simultaneously, but you only experience the channel you're tuning into. All other versions of you are broadcasting at the same time, waiting for you to change channels through your vibrational frequency. The greatest illusion of manifestation is believing you need to create something from nothing. In reality, you're constantly choosing between infinite possibilities that already exist in the field of pure potential. It's like being in an infinite library where all the books of your life have already been written. You don't write the books. You choose which one to read. This understanding changes everything because it eliminates desperate struggle. You're not trying to convince the universe to create something new for you. You're simply tuning into the frequency of the reality that already exists, waiting to be experienced. You are a perfect manifester. The proof of this is that you consistently manifest what you focus on. If you focus on problems, you manifest more problems. If you focus on scarcity, you manifest more scarcity. If you focus on fear, you manifest more situations that confirm that fear. You never failed to manifest. You just manifested unconsciously. The problem isn't that you don't know how to manifest. The problem is that you're manifesting on autopilot, always choosing the same channel based on your unconscious patterns of thought and emotion. You are a perfect quantum observer, operating without awareness of your power. The quantum field doesn't understand Portuguese, English, or any human language. It doesn't process your eloquent affirmations, your well-formulated prayers, or your desperate pleas. The universe responds exclusively to the universal language of vibrational frequency, the energy you emit through your state of being. Your words are completely irrelevant to the quantum field. Your vibration is everything. You can repeat "I am abundant" 1,000 times a day. But if your emotional frequency is transmitting scarcity, fear, or inadequacy, the field responds to the frequency, not the speech. For the quantum field to respond clearly to your intention, you need to transmit a clean signal, a coherent frequency, without interference or internal contradiction. Interference happens when you want one thing consciously, but feel another unconsciously. It's like trying to tune into a radio station, while another station interferes on the same frequency. The result is confusing static instead of clear music. Eliminating interference means aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions at the same vibrational frequency. When your thoughts say one thing and your emotions feel another, you create chaos in the quantum field. It's like sending two completely contradictory messages at the same time. The field doesn't know which to follow, so it maintains the familiar status quo for safety. Coherence happens when thought and emotion vibrate at the same frequency. When you think abundance and feel abundance simultaneously, you create a powerful and clear signal that the quantum field can interpret and respond to with precision. Calibrating your frequency is like tuning a radio station. You need to genuinely feel what it would be like to live in the reality you desire. Not imagine intellectually, but feel emotionally. When you can sustain the emotional frequency of your desired reality, you automatically tune into it. Calibration isn't technical, it's emotional. It's about feeling the reality you want to live until it becomes more real than your current situation. The double-slit experiment is the most important in the history of science for understanding manifestation. When an electron is fired through two slits, it behaves like a wave, existing in all possibilities simultaneously, when unobserved. But the moment a conscious observer decides to measure which slit the electron passes through, it chooses to behave like a particle, collapsing into a specific reality. This scientifically proves that your consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it creates it through the act of observation. You are not a passive victim of circumstances. You are the active creator of your experience through your conscious observation. Your attention isn't passive as we've been taught. It's an active and powerful creation tool. Where you consistently place your attention, you create more of that. If you obsessively observe problems, you collapse more problematic experiences. If you observe abundance with clear focus, you collapse abundant experiences. The revolutionary power lies in recognizing that you can consciously choose where to place your attention. Each moment of conscious attention is an opportunity to choose which reality to experience among the infinite possibilities available. Just as the electron exists in superposition, all possibilities simultaneously, until observed, your life exists in superposition until you choose which reality to collapse. All versions of you exist in the field of possibilities until the moment you consciously focus on a specific one. This means you're not limited by your history or current circumstances. At every moment, you have access to infinite versions of yourself, each living a different reality. The collapse of reality happens at the exact moment of conscious observation. There's no temporal process, it's instantaneous. When you focus with clarity and aligned emotion on a specific possibility, it collapses from quantum superposition into tangible physical experience. This moment of collapse is where your creative power manifests. It's the point where infinite possibility becomes concrete experience through your directed consciousness. Are you feeling this shift in perspective happening now? This understanding that perhaps you're already the creator you were looking for? Before we continue to the next insight, leave in the comments one word that represents the new reality you're choosing to collapse starting today. Your declaration is your conscious signal to the quantum field. Conditioned linear logic says you need to have something to be someone. Quantum physics reveals the absolute opposite. You need to be someone to have something. Identity is the fundamental frequency that determines what kind of experiences you can access in the infinite ocean of possibilities. When you fundamentally change who you are at the deepest level, reality automatically reorganizes to reflect this new identity. You don't force external changes through Herculean effort. They emerge naturally from the new internal frequency as inevitable consequence. At the quantum level, you're already entangled with all possible versions of yourself, including the version living in the total abundance you desire. This abundant version isn't a distant future possibility. It's a present reality existing simultaneously at a different frequency. Through quantum entanglement, you can directly access the qualities, feelings, and experiences of this expanded version, simply by tuning into its frequency. There's no real distance in the quantum field, only difference in vibrational tuning. To access a new quantum reality, the old version of you that lived in limitation needs to die symbolically. You can't be two people at the same time. It's physically impossible to vibrate abundance while fundamentally identifying with scarcity. This death isn't loss, it's liberation. It's the end of identification with limitations that were never real, just familiar. It's like taking off tight clothes you'd worn so long, you forgot what it's like to move freely. The quantum field constantly tests your authenticity, the consistency between who you say you are and how you actually vibrate moment by moment. When there's total alignment between declared identity and lived identity, the field responds with corresponding manifestations. Incoherence creates confusion in the quantum signal. If you identify as abundant but consistently act from scarcity, you send contradictory messages that prevent clear manifestations. The quantum field doesn't judge, it simply responds to the dominant frequency you're transmitting. Forced action comes from the frequency of lack, the energy of someone who doesn't have and desperately needs to get. Inspired action comes from the frequency of abundance, the energy of someone who already is and is simply expressing their true nature. When you force, you transmit scarcity to the quantum field. When you flow, you transmit abundance. The quantum field always responds to the frequency you're emitting, not the effort you're making. The paradox is that the less you force, the more rapidly things flow. The more you try to obsessively control, the more resistance you create. Inspired action has a specific and unmistakable quality. It emerges naturally from the new identity and seems inevitable, not forced. There's no internal struggle or resistance because the action is perfectly aligned with your current frequency. When you're tuned into the quantum field, the right actions emerge spontaneously. You don't need to force or obsessively plan. You simply act when genuinely inspired. It's as if the universe were whispering the next steps directly into your consciousness. Resistance is always a clear sign that you're trying to force something that isn't aligned with your current frequency. When you're at the correct frequency, everything flows naturally, like water flowing down a mountain. Struggle indicates you're trying to get something from the identity that can't have it. When you change the identity first, resistance disappears automatically because you're no longer fighting against your own vibrational nature. Synchronicities are direct confirmations that you're aligned with the quantum field. When you're at the correct frequency, the universe conspires in your favor through coincidences that seem impossible to the linear mind. These synchronicities aren't luck or chance. They're the natural geometry of quantum flow organizing your experience. It's as if you were a puzzle piece that finally found its perfect place in the grand cosmic design. The more synchronicities you experience, the more confirmation you have that you're vibrating at the frequency of your desired reality. The most liberating recognition is that you always were a perfect quantum manifester. Every experience you've ever lived is irrefutable evidence of your power to create reality through your consciousness. You don't need to learn quantum manifestation. You need to recognize that you're already a master and consciously direct what you're already doing. Every limitation you experienced was a perfect manifestation of the frequency you were emitting. Every abundance you lived was a perfect manifestation of the frequency you were radiating. You never failed to manifest. You just manifested unconsciously, creating by default instead of by design. When you integrate this understanding deeply, manifestation stops being something you do and becomes something you are. You don't practice manifestation as a separate technique. You live as conscious manifestation. There's no more separation between you and the process. You are the process. Your new normal is a life where every breath is a quantum choice. Every thought is conscious programming. Every emotion is frequency calibration. Simplicity isn't about doing less. It's about being more authentically who you really are. The end of seeking happens when you recognize you never needed to look for anything outside yourself. You already are what you were looking for. You already have what you were seeking. You already know what you were trying to learn. You stop seeking external formulas and recognize that you are the formula. Seeking ceases when you understand that quantum simplicity isn't something to be achieved in the future, but something to be remembered in the present. You're not becoming a quantum manifester. You're stopping pretending you're not one. Quantum manifestation isn't something complex you need to master in the future. It's something simple that already operates through you now. You always were the quantum architect of your reality. You are just building unconsciously, creating by default instead of by design. Starting today, you can consciously direct this power. Choose which channel to tune into in the infinite ocean of possibilities. Be the version of you that already lives the reality you desire in the quantum field. If this content resonated with something deep within you, subscribe to the channel to continue discovering the simplicity behind quantum mysteries. Share this video with someone who needs to remember their natural power to create reality, and leave in the comments which version of you is ready to emerge. Remember, you're not learning quantum manifestation. You're remembering who you always were.